Armstrong was one of the most influential jazz musicians, credited for, among others, facilitating the revival of African American music, dance, literature, and culture in Harlem. He and his wife, Louis Armstrong, owned a home in Queens, where they lived from their marriage in 1942 until their deaths in 1971 and 1983. Before she died, Lucille left their home to the city of New York on the condition that it was turned into a museum in honor of Louis Armstrong. Louis Armstrong spent most of his time living in hotels based on where he was performing. After his marriage to Lucille, she expressed discontent with the lifestyle, preferring to have a solid home. He was reluctant, compelling Lucille to buy and furnish a two-family home on 34 to 56 107th Street in Queens. She stayed with her mother in the house until Armstrong moved in 8 months later. For Armstrong, this was a perfect home. It was not in a presumptuous neighbourhood, and according to Lucille, it matched the house he dreamed of while growing up. After moving in, he made himself at home, readily interacting with the neighbours and the local community. He and his wife were deeply involved in the community. He would give performances to children on the street and participate in community activities, leading the community to view him as a humble icon. He also documented some of his interactions with the community in his letters, which are currently displayed in his house museum. This home will become Armstrong's home base for the rest of his life, and eventually part of a museum dedicated to his life, jazz and music. While here, Armstrong adopted a habit of recording conversations between himself, his wife, and the friends he hosted at home, effectively starting a personal archive of his life. Beyond recording conversations and moments of their lives in this house, Armstrong penned down autobiographical accounts and compiled scrapbooks. These materials would become essential collections in the Louis Armstrong House Museum. During their marriage, Lucille left her career to support her husband, a role she continued after her death in 1983. As part of preserving her husband's legacy, she had their home designated a National Historic Landmark in 1977. Later, she left the home to the city of New York, and in 1988 it received another designation as a New York City landmark. The house is a brick-covered frame house designed by architect Robert W. Johnson and built by Thomas Daly in 1910. Originally, the house featured brick siding, but Armstrong retrofitted it with brick. In his community spirit, he offered to retrofit his neighbours' homes to match his own. The front door opens into a narrow entryway featuring the staircase. The entryway also leads to other rooms in the house, starting with the spacious living room. The living room features light-coloured furniture and wallpaper, with portraits, notably a portrait of Lucille Armstrong and another portrait of Armstrong, painted by the African-American artist Calvin Bailey. The living room also hosted his piano, above which hangs a drawing of Toscanini. Beyond the living room is a lavish bathroom featuring high ceilings, mirrored walls, marble floors and tubs, and gold-plated fixtures. This bathroom has been featured in many magazines, including The Times, and for Armstrong, it represented his progress from a poverty-stricken childhood to a respected and well-earning musician. His dining room was designed to accommodate his family, friends, and neighbours. It featured multiple elaborate chandeliers and large eating spaces where he shared his meals with them. Armstrong's kitchen is probably the most beloved room in the house for guests. It was retrofitted in the 1970s, including turquoise lacquered cabinets. The kitchen also featured matching appliances, including the dishwasher and the wall clock. Inside the kitchen, the Armstrongs had a double oven custom made for them by Crown. The kitchen is a masterpiece in space utilization and harmony. It features built-in conveniences attached to the wall, including a tin foil and paper towel dispenser, hidden out of sight, and a blender mounted on the counter. Towards the end of his life, Armstrong needed help getting to the upstairs section of his home due to his growing health troubles. To help with this, his wife remodeled the staircase and installed an electric stair chair for her husband. The master bedroom on the home's first floor features a small, cosy room that Armstrong shared with her husband. It would also become the site of his death in 1971. The room also features a walk-in closet covered with silver wallpaper. Lucille, a devout Catholic, also had a dedicated prayer room with a comfortable chair, warm lighting, and her religious texts. Lucille was heavily involved in decorating the home, with her heavy influence on the interior design evident throughout their shared spaces. However, Louis had his corner of the home, where he had free rein to decorate and spend time with his friends. Louis Armstrong's den was a stark contrast to the light colours in the home. The walls featured dark wood panelling, a desk and sitting areas. He stored his taping equipment and tapes in the den. It was also in this den that he catalogued and itemised his collection. He had handwritten records of music, the shows he watched, and other autobiographical accounts, which today give a glimpse into the life and mind of this icon. Towards the end of his life, Armstrong bought the adjacent lots, which he tore down and turned into a Japanese garden. The garden features a koi pond, pine trees, a lawn, and a bar and barbecue area. This garden would be the venue of Louis Armstrong's last birthday. The Louis Armstrong Centre is a 14,000 square foot building designed to permanently house Louis and Lucille's 60,000-piece archival collection. Caples Jefferson Architects designed the building, matching it to the surrounding environment while incorporating modern features. The two-storey building matches the homes in the neighbourhood, which are primarily two-storey dwellings. While it blends in with the surrounding neighbourhood in its scale, it also stands out from its use of glass walls and curvature, a feature the architects intentionally did to represent the paradox that was Armstrong's life. Armstrong was outstanding for his talent and innovation. Still, he also blended in perfectly with the people in the neighbourhood, from his modest neighbourhood choice to his deep involvement in the community and the simple life he led despite his success as a musician. The colour of the building is also symbolic, standing for Armstrong's trumpet. Although Armstrong played other instruments, the trumpet was his favourite. This centre, located across the street from Louis Armstrong's house, features a 75-seat venue for educational experiences, including lectures, films and performances. During the opening ceremony, the Louis Armstrong Centre held a curated exhibition, allowing visitors to learn more about this jazz legend. The exhibition, themed Here to Stay, was curated by pianist and composer Jason Moran and gave visitors a deep dive into Armstrong's 5-decade career, personal life, relationship with his community, and deep love for humanity. Selma Gerardo was a neighbour and friend of the Armstrongs. It was through her that Lucille learned of the home and purchased it in the 1940s. After the opening of the Louis Armstrong House Museum, Selma became a constant presence in the museum, regaling guests with first-hand tales of Armstrong, the tours and trips they went on, and their life in Corona. She left her home to the Louis Armstrong House Museum. A few years after her death, the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs allocated $1.9 million to the restoration of Selma's house, now known as Selma's Centre. Part of the restorations included renovating the kitchen to accommodate catering and turning some spaces into storage and office areas, while maintaining the home's architectural integrity and complying with updated building codes. Louis Armstrong took his career and legacy seriously, preferring to record his thoughts, encounters, experiences, and musical journey. This work would develop one of the most extensive archival collections for a jazz musician. His archival collection has been instrumental in the scholarly study of jazz and its influence on culture and other genres of music. His archival collection was first opened to public access in 1994, a few years after Lucille's death, after Queen's College catalogued and organised it. The collection has grown over the years, due to the contributions of scholars and people with first-hand accounts of Armstrong. Today, the collection can be accessed from the Louis Armstrong Centre. Louis Armstrong profoundly impacted jazz music and remains a gift that keeps giving through his tape recordings, scrapbooks, and expansive personal and musical collections. The Louis Armstrong House and Museum in Queens, New York, are important historical and cultural landmarks that continue to educate the world about this iconic musician. Have you been to the Louis Armstrong House or Museum? Let us know what your experience was in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to catch more videos about classic celebrities.